Hey guys, so for those that don't know me, I've been playing Spire for a very long time. In Spire 1, I am roughly around rank 5 in the world, depending on the character. Um, and I've played every character very extensively, been following top level play for an extremely long time. Super excited to check out Spire 2, and thought I'd give some thoughts on Regent, which is one of the new characters. For context, I have been playing the game for around 30 hours. And I almost immediately put in max ascension and have just been grinding ascension 10 runs to get a feel for what the game is like at top level. So these are going to be thoughts based on that. We have no Act 4 yet. Whenever that happens, I'm sure things are going to change a lot, and I'm sure thoughts are going to change throughout the game's course and balance and whatnot. But at the very least, it should serve as somewhat of a reasonable way to have a good run on this character. And if you're playing low ascension, a lot of things will work, but at least at top level, it feels pretty polarizing, but we will get to that. Okay, we're just gonna go in alphabetical order here and start. I'll briefly describe some of the new cards anyways, maybe for some audio only listeners, but also just because these cards are really new and maybe people don't know what they do yet. Okay, so to start, Regent has two resources. You have energy, which all the characters have, and you should be very familiar with that. But then you also have stars, and there's nothing really special about this. It's just another resource that Regent makes. And one of the starter cards just says, pay 1 energy, make 2 stars. So you're essentially balancing 2 resources. The main difference is that stars carry over between turns, and energy does not, with the exception of having ice cream, right? Okay, so that being said, I think the most important thing to understand about this character is that right now, it feels like one of the most effective ways to play it is to just do things with stars. If you're ignoring that resource system, which you can very easily do, certain archetypes don't include that at all, one being this like blade archetype, you're probably not going to have a very good time. I think the idea of Spire 2 is that you do not usually have boss relics, which means you're usually stuck, or you don't have things that are comparable to boss relics like in Spire 1, that will give you energy or more output across turns. So all the characters kind of have to find some way to cheat this energy cost. And I think most top players have largely agreed that doing some sort of small deck infinite thing is sort of the best idea so far. So you might look at that or take what I just said and think, oh, alignment, good. The problem is that this energy cost is not actually what you care about, because something like this Astral Pulse costs 0 energy and 3 stars. And this is the kind of card you're going to be trying to loop. This is not one of the better ones, but it definitely belongs somewhere in like B or something. So we can go ahead and throw this in here. I will say also in Spire 1, if you're familiar with how the meta at top level ended up panning out, is that AoE is not very good. In Spire 2, that is not the case. AoE is very important. A lot of the early elites and even bosses have a lot of summons and minions that you often cannot burst one thing down. And that was how you sort of solved your AoE fights in the past. You play Sunder on like 1 minion or something, and you're kind of fine, right? You burst a minion down, and then that lowers the overall output needed for the fight, and you're good. There's a lot of things that continue summoning, just sort of like Gremlin Leader. And also things that like have shield when you hit them one time, so you really want to like spread out damage. Things that spawn 4 to 5 enemies per fight, and that's just very frequent in this game. So something like Astral Pulse, not amazing payoff for your stars, but it is okay. And I think we put it like somewhere in the top of B tier. That being said, alignment, I think, has its uses, is very often kind of clunky. There's about 1 card you can pick this with, which I guess, I know I said I was going to go in alphabetical order, but I should probably talk about this card. This is probably one of the more polarizing cards, and is one of the better commons on the class, I think. The upgrade goes to 2-star generation instead of 1, which, if you notice here, will make this give basically neutral stars and draw 2 cards and play this and give energy, right? So there's some way to generate energy with this sort of thing, but oftentimes you can just loop something like an Astral Pulse instead and have multiple glows and play this over and over and over instead. There are other better cards that we'll get to, but obviously these are just commons. The other thing is if you look at this, you might notice a lot of gold in here. There are a lot of rare cards. I don't know if the multiplayer cards are taken out of this, but we will get to that if needed. There are some specific multiplayer cards that we probably won't talk about today. That'll be a whole new thing. But there's a lot of rare cards. And the way that Slay the Spire worked is you had about a 50% chance of seeing exactly the rare card you wanted to see throughout the course of a run. And the number of rares on each class has almost doubled, which means that it's really, really hard to actually see specific rares. There's also less floors. So less fights, less chances at rare cards, I think, in general. So having decks that rely specifically on having one rare card probably are not going to work. So the strategies that are going to be the best are the ones that have this package in the uncommon and common tier that you can build an entire deck around. We might bump this up to S tier. I need to like sort of see how things layer across. I think as far as commons are concerned, this is definitely one of the best. Okay. I think this whole colorless card package is pretty poop. I have not really played that many runs with it. But card generation, I think unless you're cheating the cost of the card generation, you make a card and you still have to pay for it. And that's just not something you can do when most of the time you're just on 3 energy. Also, this forge mechanic, I'll get into this. Whenever you see something that says forge, it will spawn a blade with retain in your hand. Anytime you play another card that says forge, if a blade is already made, it just buffs the damage of the blade by that amount. This, I think, is really fun when I was first playing the game, and now 30 hours into it, I think is not super great. There's cards that just say forge on them, like Big Bang here, that just has a bunch of things. And this just sort of adds carnage in your hand, but it's also just adrenaline. We're just going to throw this into the S tier. I mean, this is just like energy generation, card generation, adds a card to your hand that retains, so you don't even have to redraw it. There are even things that remove exhaust. So this goes infinite extremely easily if you get that, because you can just go like Big Bang into Glow, and then play a 0-cost card in between plays, or just keep playing these over and over. This is obviously just like energy neutral. Generate infinite stars, and then you play all these things as like a payoff, right? So if you get the event to make your card basically not exhaust anymore, then this is going to be extremely, extremely strong. Okay. Bent into shape, deals 5 damage, forge 5. Again, forge mechanic, not super great. Forge is an additional 5 for every time you've hit the enemy this turn. Again, you don't have that much energy, so it's pretty hard to hit the enemy a lot of times, and as a result, this is usually pretty bad. Also, this does not count attacks played this turn. This is specifically against the enemy that you're hitting, which makes targeting extremely awkward. Every time I've had this, it's just kind of been like really mid, and as a rare card, it's just not good. Okay, Be Gone. Probably going in A tier. End of A tier. This adds a dive bomb into your hand, minion dive bomb. Basically, what this does is it's a card that says 13 damage on it, exhaust. So you can think of this as 2 energy, deal 17. But it also exhausts a card in your hand. And if you know anything about targeted exhaust cards, it means you can go infinite pretty easily. It's not the best for exhausting, but it is an option, and especially like early game damage, it's one of the things you want. The energy to payoff rate is just good. And Regent also has built-in vulnerable in the kit, and these physical attacks are just quite strong with that. His starter card is just pay 2 stars, 0 energy, deal 7, and it's weak vuln for 1 turn. So having like things to combo with that, pretty solid. The starter card I think is very, very good. The other one is just 1 energy deal, or 1 energy gain 2 stars, which I think is much worse, and there's a lot better ways to get it, but alas, it is just what it is. In order to have 1 good starter card, you have to have a bad one, unless you're Watcher, in which case then we don't need to talk about that anymore. Okay, Black Hole here. Whenever you spend or gain stars, deal 3 damage to all enemies. I think overall this is pretty slow. I've not had a whole lot of success with this. Again, AoE is more at a premium. I think if you're really desperate and you've picked something like an early glow in one of the early hallways, you probably can take this and like maybe get a little chip in on some of the hard elites in Act 1. You kind of have to pick AoE sometimes, and I think it has its place. It's not great. I never really want it. It doesn't like contribute as like a main damage plan. I think later on there's just way better ways to do it, but it will do something. I think in general it's kind of hard to make that many stars, and this also does not scale with the number of stars made. It's just the instance, and there's ways to make burst stars, like get a lot of stars in this game. This just doesn't interact in a way that's very nice with it, unfortunately. Okay, bombardment here is obviously depends when you get it. I think this is one of those things that you can pick and then be extremely greedy in your drafting after you have this. It's kind of a one card solve for a lot of fights, and in the early game you just play it, it kills the boss, you can focus entirely on blocking, and it just keeps doing 18 damage, it's 24 upgraded over and over and over, and you spend all your energy on block and the fight will end. This is extremely good. You pay basically a cost up front to get it, but you know, your starter deck has a card that says 0 Vuln on it, 0 energy deal Vuln. And so you can do a lot of damage with this, maybe kill the thing that's attacking you and then just have this rolling throughout the fight. There's also things from Ancients, which are like the boss rewards of this game, that will let you play this a bit easier. But I think it's a very, very strong early game card. After early game, you clearly don't want it anymore, but just because of how scary the early game is in this game, I think it definitely deserves a spot somewhere up in the top. Okay, Bulwark. It deals with a lot of stuff. It's somewhere in here. I don't like the forge mechanic, but 2 for 13 is still a pretty good rate. The problem is if you're trying to force infinite, which I think most of the time you probably are, it's not going to be something you really want. It's probably just a middle of the road card that's just not super great. Bundle of Joy, disgusting. This doesn't even cheat energy costs. I have no idea why this card exists. There's like a whole package with this, but yeah, it's terrible. Don't take it. Okay. So energy deal to 18. There's things with like multi-hitting in this game. Obviously, this is 2 energy deal 17, and so it's pretty similar. And there's some combos with like Vigor and things like that, which is basically the same thing as Akabeko buff, but it's not amazing. I think you just don't really want this thing most of the time. It doesn't retain. It's just kind of gross. You can just pick like a card that says Forge on it if you really want something that does damage like this. Okay, Charge. This is one of the premium ways to exhaust cards. These minion strikes are 7 damage, draw 1, cost 0. And they exhaust. So you can exhaust 2 things in your draw pile, essentially, and play 2 attacks on a later turn. Spire 2 has a lot of things that play cards or do things on the turn after you play them. This is just one of them. I think front load block is going to be pretty important. We'll get to that. This character doesn't have a whole lot of ways to do it. That's why Bulwark is even here in the first place. But just exhausting and thinning your deck down to like the 1 or 2 good block cards you do have is pretty cool. And it can definitely brick, but it has like kind of premium utility, I think. It's just very cheap. 1 energy to exhaust 2 cards targeted, and thin out your draw pile is really nice. There's also a bunch of statuses in this game, more so than the first one. So thinning out statuses from your deck is also pretty cool. Okay. This is like the best card in the class. This card is essentially just Mental Fortress, because the number of stars you spend, you gain block. So if you're spending 3 stars on a card, you gain 9 in block. Whenever you do that, well, you probably basically full block. And this is something you want to be doing anyways. You can make multiple copies of this, you upgrade it, it's just disgusting. I don't need to say that much more with it. I think if you take it, you'll understand that it is just completely gross. Maybe we lower this, honestly. I think these are sort of in a tier of their own. Big Bang is basically just Adrenaline, but it's not a solve on its own. Okay. Cloak of Stars is okay. It is like decent block. There's a lot of things like Bombardment that you want to play. It helps, right? You take a little bit of front load block. It's like something. It's not the premium one. There are much better options. Okay. Debris into your hand is essentially just a card that you pay 1 to exhaust. It's like a status. So I think this is, you can basically think of this as like 1 energy deal 9 if you want to get rid of the status. And after that, if you don't, you know, it's just 0 energy, sort of cheat, do some damage. It lets you push damage when you don't have the energy to spend. So it's okay. It's a decent early game thing. I don't think you really want this most of the time. It just doesn't do enough, and there's better damage commons that exist, but it has some sort of use. Okay. Comet. This is one of the best payoffs for having a lot of stars. 0 energy, 5 stars, deal 33. This goes to 44 upgraded, which is an insane number. 3 weak, 3 vuln. Also, maybe I should zoom in a little bit more. Hopefully you guys can see this. I think it starts getting kind of illegible if I zoom in more, unfortunately, but it's what it is. Anyways, yeah, 3 weak, 3 vuln. And that is Shockwave. Obviously, it doesn't hit all the enemies, but 3 weak, 3 vuln is really strong. And then future plays of this card, you know, first one is 44, next one is 66. That's 100 damage, like very easily, right? And that's kind of disgusting. It's more than 100 actually, but like you get the point. It's a lot of damage for like not that much effort, and it's one of the big loot payoffs I think that you exhaust down to and you can end fights really quickly. There are fights that only allow you to play like maybe 1 card per turn or limit the amount of card plays you can do. So you do want a very big attack like this that is cheap to play, and Common's definitely one of the better ones. Okay. I've only ever transformed in this thing. I think it's pretty bad. The upgrade only goes to 5. So it basically forges and it says Sovereign Blade deals double damage to the enemy this turn. This is like 3 energy, deal 26, which is not great. It's okay. It's just not, I don't want to pick the Sovereign Blade package anyways. Let me take some water real quick. I don't want to take this package anyways, so it is what it is, right? If it gets in the deck from a transform, which I think transforms, if you're trying to go infinite, are very, very good. It can do something, but it's just whatever. Okay. Convergence. Next turn, gain energy and a star. Retain your hand this turn. This is one of the main infinite enablers and also one of the ways to actually cheat energy on this character. Retaining your hand is an incredibly powerful effect. Essentially, if you can play this every turn, and you can, and it does do some things against like Queen, which is an Act 3 boss that locks like the first 3 cards in your hand. If you retain cards, that does not happen, and it will only lock the cards that you draw into, so you have some control about what it's locking, and you can play an infinite through that debuff, which is really good. Aside from that, it's just insanely strong. It's basically a free star every turn, retain your hand. After you can play it once, and there's a lot of enchantments that you can use to make this card better. You can make it draw cards, you can make it refund its energy cost, you can do all sorts of things. The upgrade gives another star the next turn, which is not insane, but it can do something. I think most of the time you're just resting almost every fire in this game because the enemies are so scary, and even the hallways and the elites, like no matter what, even with potions, I don't think you're getting out of them without taking a lot of damage. You basically just take 1 fire per elite and just rest. Maybe over time as deck building gets better and the game gets more solved and we get more familiar with enemies and what happens, that's not the case. But I think this card being so strong without the upgrade is just insane. And again, this uncommon card package of these cards being really, really good and working together with Glow in a really nice way means that you have something to do in the end game, even if you can't find all the other stuff. The rares are great if you get them, but you cannot bank on it. These you will see pretty frequently. Okay. Cosmic Difference. This is basically headbutt but block. It's okay. It doesn't make stars, but it can put something on top of your deck that you want to play next turn. This can be like putting your star generation ahead when you know you're going to get star payoff. And a lot of this character and a lot of Slay the Spire character design, I think, in Slay the Spire 2 is very much 2 cards working together. So lining up a combo can be very, very strong. You need stars and you need stars payoff, or you need like energy with your big power you want to play, or you need your discard from silence with your sly cards. There's a lot of things that you need in order to have characters feel strong. That's part of the reason why this retain is so strong. I mean, if you are familiar with Pyramid in Slay the Spire 1, you are probably aware of how strong that relic is and how it's the best relic in the game. This is basically just Pyramid with a little bit of extra steps, like -1 drop, but it's crazy. Crash Landing. Fill your entire hand with debris. This is basically Hyper Beam. This card is awful. Most fights don't end with this. I can definitely see sometimes you need to do it, but it basically just says, I put a bunch of statuses into my hand that cost energy to remove. So if it doesn't end the fight, you really don't want to be playing it. It's pretty terrible. I would just throw it here. Okay. Crescent Spear. this costs 1 energy, which is something you really don't want to pay for, and only really works if you have a bunch of cards in your deck that have star cost, which if you're doing stuff that has star cost, you probably just want to loop one thing. So it's pretty terrible. It's just really not going to be very good. You don't want to pay the stars on this. Maybe if it costs 0 stars, 1 energy, you could do it. And it would be sort of like a P-strike thing. Not great. Crush Hunter. Okay. Deal 7 damage to all enemies lose 1 strength. It's fine. I don't think it's anything amazing. It's a damage common that does AoE. The upgrade is 8 damage, lose 2 strength, which can do some stuff. There's quite a few enemies that have multi-attacks in this game. So this can block for a bit, and it handles some of the AoE needed for Act 1. But outside of Act 1, the use case goes down quite a bit. It's just a fine common. That's all it is. Decisions. I've picked this a few times and not really had a whole lot of luck in getting this to work. I think there's definitely decks where you make a ton of stars and you can play like your Glow Plus 3 times with this. It just says draw 3 cards, choose a skill in your hand, and play it 3 times. It's 0 energy, 6 stars. The 6 stars are pretty hard to get. There is a relic from a boss you can get that gives your starting relic a buff to give 6 stars. And in that case, maybe it's really good. I don't think I've ever taken that. I think usually the other options are better, but it can do something. It has utility. It says draw on it. And if you can cheat the energy cost or the star cost, which there are ways to do, then it can be somewhat useful. All right, skip over defend here. Devastate, 1 energy, 4 stars, deal 30 damage. It can do stuff. It's like one of the worst payoffs that you can have for stars. You'd rather this just be 0. And there's quite a few things that are 0 and cost less stars than this. I think in particular 4 is a really awkward number because the character starts with 3. And that is just kind of meaning you have to draw something that makes stars before you can play this. And oftentimes your starter deck doesn't even make excess stars. If you play both your starter cards in the first cycle, you are net neutral. So you're at permanently 3 stars. So you need to draw like a glow before this. It's just kind of awkward. If you're really struggling for damage, it can do something. Again, if you can cheat the cost, it's a big number. It can be a thing. But I don't think it's super good. Okay. Dying Star. 1 energy, 3 stars. Ethereal, deal 9 damage to all enemies lose 9 strength. This is basically a block card. I don't think it's amazing, especially considering it's a rare and it often comes up against other things. But I think it's worth putting maybe at the top of C here. It's not awesome. I think this card just like pretty situational in general. The damage is not high enough and the payoff is not super great. When it blocks a lot, it's going to feel really good. And single target fights, this thing's going to feel kind of bad. Obviously it has ethereal, so it goes away if you're not going to play it. But as a rare card, if you're seeing this up against other rares, like usually it's not going to be the thing that you're going to click on. And rares are rated with this in mind. I think, obviously, like a lot of rares are just going to be better than a lot of commons and whatnot. But like the fact that glow is common and you see it all the time and it's not good is just, it's going to be something, you know? Okay, Falling Star, starter card. Not going to talk about it. Foregone conclusion. This card is essentially just Seek delayed by 1 turn. It upgrades to 3 cards. So you pay 1 energy. Next turn, you seek 2 cards out of your draw pile into your hand. This finds your important stuff, finds your combo pieces to line up together. I mean, Seek is just really strong even when it's delayed by a turn. And again, Slay the Spire 2 has a lot of stuff that's just do the thing next turn. This is still quite strong, and it can even find 3 pieces. It's just good draw consistency, and you do need that in fights, especially boss fights that are going for a long time. Notably, this doesn't exhaust, so you can chain it multiple times over and over throughout the fight, which is quite good. Fairness, Forge package. It can solve bosses. It upgrades to 6. Every turn it just forges. But again, it's pretty freaking slow. There are just way better ways. I've solved bosses with this as like a 1 card solve, but it's like really desperate. Okay, Gamma Blast. This is definitely a very good card. 0 energy, 3 stars, deal 13. 2 weak, 2 vulnerable. Debuffs are extremely strong. This is one of those payoff cards that feels really nice to loop. The upgrade is 5 damage, so it's 0 energy, deal 18, 3 stars. And It's not quite as good as Comet, obviously. Comet's a rare, and this is an uncommon, but the cost is less to balance this out. The raw damage itself is not quite as good, but it is like one of the bigger payoffs for like doing this loop thing, and debuffs are just insane. The payoff is really, really big. In the base class, this does not upgrade to 2 weak or 2 vulnerable. This is only 1 turn, and there's another common card that's just a debuff. Same deal, only for 1 turn. So this is basically one of the only ways to get debuffs over multiple turns and do anything with it. Okay, Gather Light, basically charge battery, but with stars. I think overall this is a pretty good card. It's probably up here somewhere. Making stars is just good. Blocking is good. It's definitely better than like this Cosmic Indifference card. The number is bigger, and making stars is probably just going to be more useful to you than playing Headbutt. Okay, Genesis. I do think this is a kind of clunky card, but having stars is really nice, and making 2 to 3 stars a turn, there's a lot of ways to abuse that. Because you're so limited on energy, even doing something like Glow into Glow, 2 energy, make 4 stars, is not so easy. But 2 energy, play Glow twice, and have Genesis proc, and then make 6 stars, lets you play Gamma Blast twice. Or it lets you play Comet. So this feels like it sort of just puts you over a threshold, and gets you to be able to play some of the more expensive payoffs, and the more expensive payoffs are very good. So I think it's definitely a very solid card. I don't know quite where it goes, somewhere in here probably. I'm not necessarily convinced that all these things are like super exactly ordered, but it's roughly this for now. Glimmer, draw 3 cards, put 1 card from your hand on top of your draw pile. This is essentially Brainstorm for Magic the Gathering. It's okay. Draw cards is good. I think, again, you're still limited on energy. This is really just a lineup combo cards, and the main utility is putting a card on top of your deck. There is a whole package about playing and drawing cards multiple times with this character, but I think it is wildly inconsistent. Everything is so draw order dependent already, even with this. I think if you're trying to do this thing where you're lining up these cards multiple times over the course of the fight to get it to work, it's just really difficult. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but yeah, it's quite awkward. Okay, Glitter Stream. Gain 11 block, next turn gain 4 block. It's an okay number. I think it deserves to go somewhere in here. It's probably a little bit better than Bulwark, just as a common block card, but I don't really want it. I think that's where a lot of these things in the B tier end up, is like, I don't really want it in the deck. Maybe towards the top, I'm like kind of happier to see it, but can skip it occasionally if I don't have payoffs. Like Cloak can get in the deck if I have no block at all, and it's my way to cycle block while I'm playing Glow. I think this is like probably just a core card on the class. It maybe should go up to here, honestly. I think this is like equivalent to putting Defects Cool-Headed in S tier, so I don't feel bad about this actually. We'll just do it here for now. But I think it's like strong early game block. If you're just sitting around waiting for your stuff to line up, which sometimes you are, or you're waiting for your bombardment to go off, you need just block cards to solve the fight. It's okay. It's not amazing, but the number is good enough on it that I can justify it. Okay, Guards. This is a crazy card. Obviously a rare, so you don't get it very often, but it says transform any number of cards in your hand into minion sacrifice exhaust. These are cards that say 0 energy, block 9 exhaust on them. So it's essentially targeted Fiendfire that you can pick what you want to exhaust out of your hand. So you can exhaust all the bad cards, keep all the good ones. Notably, it combines really well with Convergence, as most things do, to exhaust a lot of crap out of your hand and just go infinite faster. It also blocks the turn you're doing it. So like a lot of problems with setting up some sort of infinite like this is that your setup turns, you need to pay a lot of HP to do it. This means your setup turn happens, you don't pay any HP to do it, you just sort of full block and then you're good to go. I've not gotten this a ton, but every time I get it, it just feels crazy. I saw it before the game came out and thought it was just going to be a disgusting card, and it definitely was. Okay, Guiding Star. This is definitely one of the better commons in the class. The upgrade makes this go to 13 draw 3 next turn, so it's basically mini Predator. It has a star cost, it's 1 energy, 2 stars. So you do have to pay a little bit for it, but the number is high in terms of damage, and the draw next turn helps you line up your stuff. It doesn't really fall off. I think it's one of the few cards that you can pick early and still be happy later that you have it. Just setting up a draw 3 in an endgame is really, really strong. So yeah, definitely try this out if you don't have it. I think as common, it's quite good. I think the role of common cards doing this in the early game and scaling through the end game is very important to fill. Hammer Time. This is a multiplayer card. We're not going to talk about it. Heavenly Drill, kind of funny card. X cost. There's not a whole lot of ways to make energy, so probably here. I think if you have the stuff to make this broken, you'll know and you can play it. You have Chemex or whatever, but yeah, super situational. Most runs you definitely don't want it. As far as rares go, it's pretty shit. Hegemony, I think that's how you say this card. It's fine. It's not like the most amazing thing of all time. It cheats energy, so it probably goes somewhere in here, I would imagine. I had this from a transform and it felt okay, but it was also in combination with a card that's coming up here that we'll talk about. It's just 15 damage. I think if you look at the numbers on these things, you can see that 15 damage is not really that much for 2 energy. Obviously, it refunds next turn. Maybe it deserves to go here or something. I think maybe it's a bit of a disservice to put it lower than this. It's again, B tier is kind of where all these cards go that I feel kind of awkward about. If I see it early, it's a damage card. I'll click it, but it's not something that transitions well into the late game. It can set things up, especially if you have things that can cheat the energy cost, which again, we'll get to. Heirloom Hammer. Yeah, this is, I don't know where exactly it goes in here. I've never clicked this card. 17 damage for 2 energy is not that great. And you choose a colorless card in your hand, add a copy of it to your hand. I don't know what exactly you're trying to copy with this, but yeah, as a rare, I don't really want this. Okay, Hidden Cache. One of the better ways to make stars in this character. It's one of the only things that actually generates a ton of stars. This makes 4 without an upgrade, which is a lot. So with the upgrade, it does 5. Your base card that generates stars generates 2. So if you have anything that's expensive at all, like a Gamma Blast early, this thing is just fully paying for it and more on top of that. So you can basically think of it as like play Gamma Blast delayed. And also there's other payoffs for stars as well. It's pretty versatile. Overall, pretty strong. Yeah, not much more to say about it. I think it's just quite solid. I'm invincible. Gain 9 block at the end of your turn. If this is the top of your draw pile, play it. It's a rare. I think as a card, it's like fine. 1 energy, 9 block is quite good. And if you put it back on top with something, it's like, okay. I'm not happy to see this. I don't think this top deck manipulation thing is really what this character is doing right now. Until things change, I think that's not really going to move. The numbers are fine on it, but I really don't care about it in the end game. It's just whatever. Okay, Kingly Kick. The upgrade, you would think it's like blood for blood and discounts to 3. It doesn't. But it's 4 energy, deal 24. Whenever you draw this card, reduces cost by 1. It's pretty bad. When you draw it the first time, you can play it. 3 energy, deal 24 is like, okay. And it scales throughout the fight. So if you're really desperate, you can cheese. This is like sort of this top deck manipulation thing, is if you keep putting this card on top and you keep redrawing it, then you get something out of it. But overall, there are just better things to do with cards that you can loop, that you'll see further on. I think it's okay. It can cheese stuff if you're really lacking damage, so it's not unpickable, but it's just not great. Okay. Kingly Punch, same thing. I think this is just like a worse version. It doesn't even front load the damage really, and it scales slower. It's just like worse Rampage. I don't know. There's more stuff that this character interacts with than Ironclad did in Spire 1, so put this back on top or whatever, but it's just not that good. Okay, Knockout Blow. I initially thought this was going to be much worse than it was. I think early game, this thing is disgusting. It kills pretty much everything, including elites, and upgrades to 38 damage. With the Vuln in your starter deck, that is a shit ton. So it really does just kill a thing. And when you make stars, there's lots of ways, like Cloak of Stars, to play block after, even when you don't have energy. Notably, it's like kind of like Sunder, but it doesn't refund energy. It gives a bunch of stars. So if you can combine it with things like Cloak of Stars, and again, other things, or you can combine it with your starter card or like an Astral Pulse or something, you can help finish off other enemies and just end the fight. I think it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be initially. Maybe I will go down on it with time, but so far it's been performing pretty well. Okay, know that place. This is a way to get debuffs, I think it's pretty middling. Your starter card has this exact effect, except it deals damage and costs some stars, but overall it's just whatever. It does combo with some things, like if you have this like knockout blow thing or hegemony or whatever, like some big attack, you can take it. Again, if it upgraded to do 2 weak, 2 vuln, I think it's so much better, but it just upgrades to not exhaust, which is really rough. So you're just, again, adding this card that you have to draw alongside your other stuff, which is just kind of inconsistent, and it doesn't feel great to add it. Debuffs are good, so you can think of this as like a block card, kind of. Maybe it deserves to go like here. It's okay. It's just not great. This is a multiplayer card, so I don't know what it does. Lunar Blast, deal 4 damage for each skill already played this turn. I think this is really bad. It's 0 energy, and so maybe do something, but it's not a great payoff. If you're playing this many skills, there's just better things to do. Presumably you're playing Glow and making a lot of stars, and then you have other stuff to do. It's just, it doesn't do that much damage, really inconsistent, a lot of times just completely bricks. And we already have too many of these kinds of cards on this class and in general in this game. Make it so. Deal 6 damage every 3 skills you play in a turn, puts this card into your hand. This is kind of like Flurry of Blows, sort of, which already is not that great of a card. It's not helping you line up any combos. It's just doing a mediocre amount of damage and not really contributing to anything past the ultra early game. It's okay. Early game damage. After that, I don't really want this thing. It's just not great. It does do some stuff. Like maybe we can put it like here or something. But I'm not super happy to see this for the most part. Maybe it deserves to be even less. I don't know. I don't want to get yelled at by the other good players, but it's day 3 or whatever at this point. So I'm sure again, maybe we find something that makes this broken, just not yet. Random colorless, doesn't even discount it. Maybe a little bit better than some of the other generating cards just because it says block on it and it can cheese something. It does let you sort of randomly sometimes win a boss fight. There's a lot of random colorless cards that will just win, but yeah, it's definitely not one of the better things, so we can keep it in C tier for now. Okay. Deal 14 damage to all enemies, apply 2 weak and vulnerable to all enemies. I have not seen this card, so I don't even know if it's still in the game. Maybe it's some remnant. Yeah, I've literally never seen this, and I have unlocked all, and it's a common. So I would imagine that I would have. We'll keep it down here. It looks like it's a pretty freaking good card. That looks like an insane rate, so I have a feeling this is just not a thing. If I had seen this, it would be in the deck immediately, because you'll notice that's just better Gamma Blast, which I just don't think this is a thing at all. It seems impossible. Okay, Monarch's Gaze. This thing is so expensive to play. It just doesn't do enough. Whenever you attack an enemy, it loses 1 strength this turn. You're not really going to be blocking that much with this. Often it's just block 1 a turn. It's kind of like after image for attacks, but it costs 3 to upgrade it. It's just way too expensive. Even when I can get it into play, it doesn't feel like it does anything. Whenever you play a card this turn, gain 1 strength. We're looping things that are like doing 1,000,000 damage. We're not playing horrible flex. I think this is just, this needs some insane amounts of buffs to be playable. This is like a horrible card. Okay, Neutron Aegis, gain 8 plating, 1 energy, 5 stars. It's okay. If you make a bunch of stars, obviously like the plating is good. This is just like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, etc. block every turn. It cannot stick around, unlike plated armor in Spire 1. It just continues to decrease, but it also does not get knocked off by enemies hitting you. So there is like some upside to it comparatively, but it's just not amazing. Again, it's in the rare slot. It costs a lot. Oftentimes you draw this, you can't even play it. Unless you've drawn the star generator beforehand. And again, these cards that only work when you draw them in the right draw order are just really inconsistent. Orbit. Some people have been saying this is pretty good. I don't think it's amazing. It's basically like a kind of bad energy relic that costs 2 to put into play. I think if you really need to cheese energy or cheat energy cost, this is a thing. It's just really not what you want. It's okay. At least my instinct now. Energy has not been the main limiting factor most of the time with the way that I've been playing the character. So maybe if that changes, this will also change. But yeah, it's just not great. Pill Blue Dot, if you play 5 or more cards in turn, draw 1 card that starts your next turn. I don't know why this is a card. It's awful. I don't know where to put it in here. Everything in D tier I'm not really ordering that much. But yeah, a conditional power does nothing like most of the time because you can't play 5 cards. And if you already are, you're probably infinite. And if that's the case, you really don't care about this thing because you can just play Convergence or whatever else you have, or your common that draws 3 cards next turn. Like, why am I playing this thing? It just doesn't do anything, frankly. Whenever you play Sovereign Blade, gain 6 block. If you have some Sovereign Blade thing going on, maybe it's not that much. Sovereign Blade costs 2. So at most this is blocking like 6 a turn, which I guess can be a thing if you're playing a Sovereign Blade deck. Maybe we throw it in here. I just don't think that's very good. That's been the case. Okay, Particle Well, 0 energy, 2 stars, block 9, return this card to your hand. Basically, if you have stars, you can continue to play it. This is one of the premium block options on this character, and it goes absolutely nuts in the early game. You just can pick like Hidden Cash and play this twice, and it goes just absolutely insane. Also with Retain, super good. You always have block on demand, just quite a solid card. Not much to say about it though. Okay, Patter, 8 block, 2 vigor. The numbers on it are like okay. I think the vigor is basically nothing. So the utility is not really that significant. We'll throw it somewhere in C tier. It's not really worth talking about. It's a block card. Photon Cut. Deal damage, draw 1, put 1 card from your hand on top of your draw pile. This card is overperforming. I think the upgrade is really solid. It's 13 damage, draw 2, which is a super sick upgrade. It's basically Pommel Strike. So just a quite solid damage common. It's not as good as some of the ones that use stars, but again, if you don't have the star generators, this is just a really strong thing that can help set up your next turn. I think it's quite solid. We'll probably throw it here or something like that. Maybe lower Glimmer down. It just looks a little weird here. Okay. Pillar of Creation. Whenever you create a card, gain 3 block. Yeah, I think this creation build thing is just not that great. It's just not a strong enough archetype that's not supported. You're not trying to do this. Maybe if that is true, this will get a lot better. Like the numbers are okay if you're making a bunch of cards, but it's just kind of weird. I don't know how often you're just like trying to fill your deck with stuff and transform it all. Could maybe be here. I'll throw it with the Sovereign Blade thing that does the similar thing. It's just awkward. Okay, Prophesize. 2 energy or draw 6. It is upgraded to 1 energy. Extremely pickable. Maybe not extremely, but somewhat pickable. At 2 energy, I can never afford to play this. You have 3 energy total. When are you drawing 6 cards and doing something after you draw them? It's just not a thing. Like, you can't do infinite loops with this thing. Even if you draw into something important, you probably don't have energy to play it. It just feels really bad. I don't know if I just don't understand this card, but it just doesn't seem to do anything yet. Okay, random colorless cards to add to your hand. They don't get discounted energy cost. So you're paying 2 stars and the energy cost of the thing. You're just paying to randomly select a colorless card, which feels really bad. Not much else to say about that either. Okay, Radiate. 0 energy, deal 3 damage to all enemies for stars, gain this turn. When I first read this card, I didn't see it said all and still picked it. I think based on the fact that it says all, and when you have something like a Hidden Cache, or you have all these star generators that you already want to pick anyways, it does a lot of damage. It's not an amazing payoff, because you can't usually make that many stars. If you're making as many stars, there's probably something better to do with it. But it is like a pretty decent early game thing, and there's a lot of random enchantments that will add like vigor to your attacks, or give you strength. There's a lot of random strength things. Or increase the damage that a card does by like 2 or something. So just having this in your deck, it gives it the chance to do something really broken and be something really good. It's just okay. I think for the most part, it's somewhere around here. It can do stuff. The fact that it's AoE makes it a lot better. It's something you can pick early game and just like be happy with. The fact that it will be in your deck and have the chance to get broken just means it doesn't always do nothing in late game. And if you can make a lot of stars, it can do a lot, and you can do some sort of loop, like if you're playing Glow Plus every turn. But again, that's most things with this character. It seems like you just play Glow Plus every turn and stuff happens. Okay, Refined Blade. I don't want this thing ever. It says Forge on it, and Forge is not great. And next turn, gain 1 energy. Yeah, there's just better things to do than this. It's just bad common. Okay, Reflect. This is 1 energy, 3 stars, deal damage equal to the blocked attack damage. This is an insanely high output card. If you draw into this on turn 1, it's just 17 block immediately and potentially 17 damage or more. It combos with other block cards. It's cheap enough and the rate is good enough that this just gets in the deck. I'm pretty tempted to just start in here. You're making stars and this thing just, the output is ridiculous. It deals so much damage back, and AoE fights, this is also dealing AoE, so when like these elites are hitting you for huge numbers, maybe it just goes here, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, it just does a ridiculous amount of damage. Like, don't just look at the block number, the damage it deals is crazy. Resonance, gain 1 strength, all enemies lose 1 strength. I don't think that strength on this character is really what you want to be doing. Again, there's this like multi-hit package, but there's other ways other than strength, and there's not enough strength in this character to make the multi-hit with strength thing a real thing. So really, if you're playing this, you're playing it for the all enemies lose 1 strength, which it's too many stars. It just doesn't feel good. I don't think I've ever drafted this. If a transform happens and it ends up in the deck, sure, you can play it multiple times, so maybe you can debuff your enemies, but it feels really impossible. You cannot outpace them. I don't think you're ever wanting to pay the star cost. We can throw it at the bottom of C with all these like random things that maybe do something, but just not really. Okay, Royal Gamble. 0 energy, 5 stars, gain 9 stars, exhaust. The upgrade goes to retain. And I think usually you want to be making a lot of stars, just in general. Getting 4 stars net off this is really insane. So if you're consistently making stars, again, it's one of those things that you need to draw it in the right order, but the reward for it is actually significant. The fact that it's 0 energy and upgrades to retain means that it will line up, especially if you get like random upgrades, which happens a lot. Even random targeted upgrades will happen from like events and things like that. So it feels quite good. I might put this Be Gone. Yeah, maybe 1 below it. I think that the exhaust is still worth it. Okay. Royalties. This is meta scaling. I actually don't think in this game that gold is that good. Most of the time, you don't even care about the relics. They're just not that good, and they're way more expensive than in Slay the Spire 1. Meta scaling is meta scaling, and there are relics that interact with powers. There's common relics that like give like 6 block for the first time you play a power. There's like a ring that gives strength and dex for when you play like a power attack skill, and it's a 1 mana power that you can like trigger things with and still get something out of. But shops are just kind of worse. I've been like going to every shop and just like removing. Well, not necessarily going to every shop, but like every shop I go to, I just remove to make this infinite thing work. I don't feel like I'm ever really poor. There's not much I want to buy. The potions seem overcosted and not as good. Some potions are really crazy, but just in general, I feel like I don't ever early shop anymore. And this is not going to go off early enough to make me want to early shop. It just feels kind of weird. Like, it's okay. It's a rare. Like, gain 30 gold is obviously something that's meta scaling, but I feel like it's very hard in this game to get over curve. It always feels like you're dying until you're basically infinite, and then at that point, like, yeah, you could take this, but if you're infinite, you just don't care. So it's kind of awkward. I think it's probably worth throwing in here. I think if you throw this anywhere other than like this area, someone's gonna yell at you. Just because gold is obviously gonna do something, but I don't think it's great. Or as good as like a Hand of Greed or something. Okay, Seeking Edge. As far as making the blade thing work, the number on it's pretty good, 7, and it deals AoE. So this, if you get it early, can just do a lot of damage to enemies in an AoE fight. It's not the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It's not making it like super high up here. There's just a lot of random rares that I can't be bothered to order right now, but it's just okay. Okay, 7 stars, deal 7 damage to all enemies 7 times. There's ways to cheat the star cost. Also, if you can make the stars, it's just going to be good. It feels a little awkward. Like, it's hard to make this sometimes, but that is a lot of damage. It does upgrade to 1 energy. I think I did that one time, but I think if you are able to pay the star cost, you probably want to pay the energy cost anyways. And again, there are ways to add damage to this over time. There's ways that like add 5 damage every time you play the card, or add 2 damage to the card, or add vigor to it and it deals 15 by 7. Having something like this that hits a bunch of times and just wipes the field can let you just cheese a lot of the game. This was a main damage engine for me in a couple of runs, but I don't think it's something that I'm like necessarily wanting every time. The star cost is hard to get, but the payoff is somewhat worth it depending on what else you have. It can be something worth playing, and it does like do a lot of stuff in early game as long as you have star generation, which you probably want to pick anyways. Okay, Shining Strike. 1 energy, deal 9 damage, gain 2 stars. Place this on top of your draw pile. So essentially you draw this every turn and you make 2 stars. I think this thing is kind of cracked. After playing with it, yes, it's a -1 draw every turn to deal, 8 damage, gain 2 stars for 1 energy. But for the most part, you're going to add a lot of these payoff cards before you have necessarily enough star generation. The second you see one of these payoff cards, it's probably just in the deck. And this is actually going to make all these payoff cards work. So every time you draw your Gamma Blast, you can actually play it. And Particle Wall obviously goes completely crazy with it because you make 2, you just block again. It's just kind of doing what you need to do on the character, which it feels like you're more gated by stars than you are energy. So even though the -1 draw when you play it seems like somewhat of a downside, I think if you upgrade this, it's only a 3 damage upgrade, but 11 damage every single turn will add up. It's somewhat comparable to Tantrum on the Watcher in Spire 1, but it's not it's not nearly as broken, obviously. It's just a decent card. I think it does like enable these things. It's one of the few cards I think that lets you really go full in on the stars thing. Again, I think in this game that it's a little polarizing. Right now, the balance, it feels like certain archetypes are just way better than others, and that's what stars feels like on this character. It feels like the other 2 packages are just really weird and hard to make work. So you're kind of forcing the stars thing no matter what, at least right now, off of me playing the game for 30 hours. And it feels like this is maybe something that is going to go down in evaluation if the other categories get better, if the other archetypes start doing things. But this game feels a lot more archetype heavy than Spire 1. I feel like in Spire 1, you could sort of just click the good cards and solve early game and then eventually pivot based on like the rare you found. And that doesn't feel like something you can do in this game. It kind of feels like you need to have a lot of direction early, and this immediately gives that to you. Okay. Solar Strike. 1 energy, deal 8 damage, gain a star. I did hear some people talking about how this is kind of higher up for them. It's similar to Gather Light, but I think overall that block is probably a bit better than dealing damage, at least right now. So I'm going to drop it a tiny bit in this tier, but it's definitely a decent damage common that you can take. And again, making stars while you're doing other stuff, just kind of okay. There's not much to talk about with that card. It's not doing a whole lot special. Okay, Spectrum Sift. At the start of your turn, add 1 random colorless card into your hand. This costs 2. I think Hello World, we know from Spire 1 how good that is. But again, I think if you're doing this stars thing, you really don't want to gunk up your deck with cards. It can play, but the fact that it costs 2 and not 1 is really bad. It is incredibly difficult to play this card and have it do anything, and it's just a little too slow. I think if you're very desperate, it's probably somewhere in here, but it's definitely not a great card by any means. Okay, Spoils of Battle, Forge 10, awful. It's essentially 1 energy, deal 30, or 20, whatever, I don't know. It's just not great. I don't want to be doing this forge thing. If I am, I want it to come stapled with something that's better. Okay, deal 5 damage to an enemy X times. Notably, the X cost is the stars, not the energy cost. But again, you don't often have excess stars to really pump into this. I haven't really gotten this to work. Maybe you can cheat the energy cost somehow with Void Form, which we'll talk about. It can do something, but I think this is a pretty bad card. Okay, summon 4th. Forge 8, put Sovereign Blade into your hand from anywhere. This is definitely one of the better Forge cards, but it's still not enough to put it into good tier. It lets you put the blade back in your hand after playing it once, so you can play the blade, then play this, and then immediately comes back in your hand and retains again. It's just, again, this Forge thing is just not that solid. Okay, Supermassive, deal 5 damage, deal 3 additional damage for each card you created this combat. Maybe this will do something. I think it probably goes in here somewhere. If the creation archetype gets better and you can do more things with that, maybe it'll pop off. It just doesn't feel like the cards that let you pivot into this sort of archetype really exist or are strong enough to do it right now. So it's not going to be very high. Okay, Sword Sage. Increase the cost of Sovereign Blade by 1. Pretty bad, but it now hits an additional time. I think overall this is like pretty awful. The sword needs to cost less, not more. Maybe it kills stuff when you do that, but 2 energy to deal this means you cannot play it the turn you play it. It's just quite rough. Terraforming, gain 6 vigor. This card is meant to combo with multi-hit cards. I don't think this vigor package is anything. There's a lot of just random cards like this that just don't do anything. This is one of them. Sealed Throne, whenever you play a card, gain energy. Gain a star. This is boss exclusive, so you cannot just draft this card, but this is quite good. Goes infinite, doing a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's quite a steep cost of 1 energy, 3 stars, but the second you play this and you keep generating stars after that, usually it's gonna be worth it. It's a 1 energy power that has some additional cost, but you can get the stars back quite easily after you play it. So it's probably not doing anything for like the turn you play it, but after that, it's going to do a lot. The opportunity cost of having to pick this over boss relics is maybe something that should be weighed more heavily here, but just as a standalone card, it's really good. It's hard to get access to though. The Smith, Forge 30. You need stars to do this too, so you allegedly have to have stars and you have to be wanting to do this Forge thing. Just seems terrible. If you get this from a potion, by all means, a skill pot pops this and your blade does 1,000,000 damage. Great, but seems a little rough. Okay, Tyranny. At the start of your turn, draw 1 card and exhaust 1 card from your hand. I think this is maybe off the top of your draw pile now. Maybe it's changed, but either way, randomly exhausting stuff, pretty rough, especially if you're trying to do some sort of combo. I think this is meant to do something with the card creation thing and just randomly exhaust cards, but it is really bad. And you'll notice a lot of these rares are just completely unpickable, which is why I'm saying that maybe, okay, Monarch's Gaze should go probably above this stuff. But there's a lot of rares, and if you see this in your boss reward, you're just sad. So you basically have to build decks based on not seeing rares at all. Venerate, starter card. Void Form. This card is one of the few ways to actually cheat energy. Notably, it also says the first 2 cards you play each turn are free to play, which cheats star costs as well. So if you have like the 7 stars, you cheat this, and it obviously you're going to get a lot out of this. It's like Echo Form. It's just worth playing. One of the best cards on the class, probably. The end your turn thing is not relevant because just do whatever you're going to do before you hit end your turn. You were going to pay 3 energy into this. You probably are done doing stuff. Also, it's really nice with a lot of the 0 energy block stuff that you probably want to be picking, like the Particle Wall. The 0 energy stuff like the Gamma Blast, it's going to weaken the enemy, which is sort of like block. The Cloak of Stars, right? These sorts of things. You're already having these things in your deck, which makes it easier to play this. And when you can play it, you probably just win the fight, has been my experience. Okay. Rod and War, deal 7 damage, Forge 5. Don't care about this Forge thing. It's like, it does enough damage. Maybe it's like a decent card in early game. I think I'd probably throw this up here. You're not going to build a forge deck around this, but if you're like dying to the first elite or something and you need something desperately, this will do something. And it's like slow scaling. It's sort of like Rampage that actually does something. It makes you another card that you can play the turn that you play it. So if you need to spend 3 energy and you have 0 cost Vuln in your deck, you can do it. It's not amazing, but again, it's probably just fine. Okay, this is the character for now. I'll scroll slowly through this for you to look at all the tiers. If you want, you can pause. And I'll post this in the description, but I think for now, this is like day 2, 3 thoughts after like 30 hours in the game and playing Max Ascension and mostly Regent for this time. I'm sure this will all change. This is about exactly an hour, which is perfect. And I will also link my stream in the description. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, which you probably are, then you can go ahead and follow that. I will be playing live all the time, constantly. I was playing Spire full-time, essentially, as a streamer, content creator. So I will try to do the same with Spire too. And hopefully we'll get good enough at this game to figure out exactly how wrong I am about this. Okay. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.